You're listening to the Codependent Millennial Podcast with Sophie Shiloh, episode 14, People Pleasing. This episode is part of my series on the 7 essential steps to moving beyond codependency. To receive the full guide, along with all of the worksheets and written guidance, just visit codependentmillennial.com/essential, click the button that says Get the Guide, and sign up there. Today, we're talking all about why we people please, why it doesn't serve you or the people you're trying to please, and how to stop. You people please when you want to manipulate someone's perception of you. You want to manipulate someone's perception of you when you think that their thoughts and feelings about you determine or mean something important and unwanted about you and your life. You people please because you want to control how other people think of you. You people please because you think that when you successfully earn the approval of whomever you're manipulating, they will like you and then you will be able to like yourself. This is an illusion. It's a lie. The truth is that when you are people pleasing, you are lying. And this widens the distance between you and this other person. It doesn't bring you closer together. It also sabotages your relationship with yourself because you know you're putting up a facade. When you're people pleasing, you're looking towards others for instructions on how you're allowed to feel about you. But that means you're putting yourself in a position where you are unable to access positive emotions about yourself unless you find them outside first. And I promise you this will never work. You disrespect and invalidate yourself when you people please. You erode your relationship with yourself when you just do all of those little things that you don't actually want to do, but that you do anyways because you're trying to accommodate or please someone else so that they see you in a certain light. You're chipping away at your relationship with yourself while you try to prop up this completely fabricated relationship with the person you're trying to please. Why would you want this? Because you think that you're preserving the relationship by doing this. And you're trying to preserve the relationship because you don't think you can be happy or secure or okay without that relationship. But I promise you that you are not preserving anything by people pleasing. And I promise you that there is not a single external relationship in your life that you cannot survive happily without. You have to honor yourself enough to tell yourself the truth about what you're doing in your life to accommodate other people at your own expense and to decide otherwise. You may be risking the relationship, but is it a relationship you really want to preserve if it's based on whether or not you continue to accommodate and serve at your own expense? You have to ask yourself that question and answer it honestly. In codependency, we often assume the victim role and paint someone else in our lives as the villain. We feel and act like martyrs or saviors, always sacrificing, always trying to please others, but end up depressed or enraged beneath the surface because we've neglected ourselves so thoroughly. I promise you, no matter how long you may have been walking this path of self-neglect, you don't have to take another step. You can pivot and start living in a new way. When you're trying to move away from people-pleasing, you need to set boundaries with yourself for yourself. What I mean by this is don't overstep your own boundaries and abandon yourself and then act falsely pleasant towards others, even though you're resentful of them for being, quote-unquote, the reason you're overstepping your own boundaries. Tell the truth here. You are the one responsible for how you act, not anyone else. Take responsibility for this and let that liberate you and empower you to make more conscious choices about how you live your life. What happens when we attempt to make others happy, living from the belief system that says that our actions affect other people's happiness, is that we also expect and want other people to do things in order to make us happy. We sit around waiting for that to happen and get resentful, hurt, and angry when they don't, even though they've done nothing wrong. We just think they have because we've delegated the job of our happiness to them, which was never going to work in the first place. We give away all of our personal power willingly, and that is a tragedy. This reason alone should convince you that people-pleasing is not the way to go, ever, ever, ever. So I wanted to give you a series of questions that will help you get to the root of your people-pleasing tendencies and start to shift them if you so choose. Simply by asking yourself these questions, you could completely change your relationship with yourself and make the decision to never people please again if you don't want to. For the most impactful experience, I recommend listening to these questions several times over and writing the answers down on paper. You can sort of create a mini coaching session for yourself right here in this podcast. Question number 1. In what ways do you find yourself trying to accommodate others so that they think of you positively? Take stock of this for yourself. Examine the things you're doing to attempt to make others happy. Examine the things you're not doing or saying because you're afraid of how someone else will react to it or feel about you as a result. Question number 2. What consequences are you afraid will happen if you don't comply with your own methods of people-pleasing these individuals? Why do these potential consequences make you so uncomfortable that you're going to such great lengths to prevent them? How can you neutralize the threat in your mind of these consequences and in so doing, give yourself space to opt out of being overly accommodating if you choose? Question number 3. In what areas do you wish people would take responsibility for your emotions? How can you step up for yourself in this area instead, taking ownership for your own well-being and freeing other people from the expectation of taking care of your emotional well-being at the same time? And number 4, make a plan. The next time you feel the urge to people please, what is your strategy? Will you take a breath before blurting out a promise to over-deliver far beyond what is necessary? Will you tell someone that you'll get back to them in a couple of hours so that you can get in touch with yourself and decide whether or not you want to comply with a request? Will you ask for something you want and need instead of holding your own hand over your mouth, not wanting to burden the other person or cause a fuss? Will you practice saying no quietly to yourself so that you feel safe saying no in conversation with others? Practice, make a plan, and have your own back. You can do this. In the next podcast, I'll address everyone's favorite topic, confidence. We'll go into where it comes from, why it matters, and how to get more of it. Stay tuned, beauty. If you've spent too much time people-pleasing at your own expense and you want to learn how to stop, schedule a one-on-one session with me. It's completely free, it's a ton of fun, and I'll help you change your behavior so that you stop making yourself miserable with people-pleasing and start being happier and more at peace in your relationships. Until then, have an amazing day. If you loved what you heard on this episode, join me over on Instagram at Codependent Millennial for more tips on how to move beyond codependency and build a life you truly love.